All right, now Iran is witnessing some widespread merchant strikes, escalating protests on the streets and also a security response nationwide. Now, 12 days of these protests has in fact shaken the government under Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And our next report explores if these protests can actually challenge their government that is in place in Tehran. Take a look at this report.
What began with merchant strikes and shop closures in Tehran's Grand Bazaar have spiraled into nationwide protests. Currency collapse, Riyal slipping to record lows, rising prices, chronic water shortages, and opposition to the Islamic Republic have forced people to come out of the shadows. Iran is on the boil. Violent protests have gripped the nation. At least 30 provinces are up in the arms. Anti-Khamenei slogans are echoing across the country. The unrest in Iran, the biggest in the recent years, has evolved into a broader rupture. These images of Iranian protesters marching and chanting slogans in northeastern city of Bojnord paint a grim picture. The 86-year-old supreme leader has been cornered by his own people. Protests in Qom, the spiritual heartland of Iran's clerical establishment, marks not just an act of defiance but a seismic shift in resistance. In Iran Sheher, protesters have set statues of Khamenei and the leader of the 1979 revolution, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, on fire. The crackdown by the government is simmering the unrest. The showdown between security forces and violent protesters have claimed lives on both the sides. Though the unrest has broadly remained leaderless, Iran's exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has called for massive demonstrations. Experts say such calls will shape Iran's future, a test whether or not demonstrators are being swayed by messages from abroad. The Iranian government is striking a conciliatory note with protesters while sending out a strong message to the West.
We do not seek war, but we are prepared for war. We are also prepared for negotiations, but negotiations that are based on mutual interests and mutual respect.
Iran's messaging is shaped by concerns over foreign interference. These fears have been amplified after US President Donald Trump's chilling warning that US will come to rescue if Iran kills protesters. Given how quickly and widely Iran's protests garner an anti-regime character, the question is whether they can cause significant shifts in the Iranian political system. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, now joining us live from Tehran is Mr. Yusuf Jalali. He's a journalist and he is joining us on WION. Mr. Jalali, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this broadcast. Now, first of all, tell us, there are reports that the Iranian government is probably planning a shutdown of the internet in order to try and stop these protests. How widespread are these protests? And also talk to us about the incidents of violence where a policeman today has apparently been stabbed to death by the protester. What's happening on that front? Who is fomenting the violence there? And how is the Iranian government trying to put a lid on these protests?
Well, of course, regarding this colonel who was stabbed to death by protesters while he was engaged in quelling the protests. His name was Shaheen Dehwan, Colonel Shaheen Dehwan, from the city of Malard, and he was, of course, engaged in trying to stop the protesters, and he was stabbed to death in the city of Malard. And so far, the Iranian government has not provided any information regarding who was behind this incident, but it blamed it on the rioters, what he calls rioters, and called this colonel a martyr in the path of defending the country's national security. There has been another incident in Sistan and Balochistan province in the city of Iran Shah, where the Jaish al-Ad militant group, it's a Baluchi group based out of the Baluchi regions in Iran and Pakistan. So they were responsible for a drive-by shooting of another Iranian security force member in the city of Iran Shah there, and he was killed by those people. And Iran again was not able to track down those perpetrators behind that incident. But of course, we have been seeing several such incidents taking place. Heavy clashes between security forces, and of course the protesters across the country. It really took a turn now. The protests have largely in effect across the country in all provinces, towns, and cities, especially in the western provinces, which are located close to the Iraqi Kurdish regions. So
Right.
Those areas are very much the hotspot of all this violence between the protesters and security forces.
Interesting. Now, also tell us about who's leading these protests. Are these protests completely organic, driven by the economic crisis because of the plummeting real? Or is there a leadership, that's in fact guiding these protests? And what role does Reza Shah Pahlavi actually play? How is he viewed by the common people in Iran? And how does the Iranian government in Tehran view him?
Mm-hmm. Well, this protest is not led by any rallying figure for now, and there's a leadership vacuum, and that is why we see that Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince of Iran, of course, now pitched in, and said that I feel the responsibility to lead these protests. And he issued his first call for mass mobilization, a coordinated chant across the country, slated for 8 p.m. local time tonight across Iran. That's about 1 hour, 20 minutes from now.
Right.
So he called on people across the country to join this coordinated chants. And then he said that any further action or any further call hinges on the turnout in this in this existing call. If the turnout was significant, then he would issue another call. And it is very much significant because Iranians are very much divided
Right.
regarding the popularity and the charisma of Mr. Reza Pahlavi. Some believe that he is a Western puppet, and some others believe that he is a savior for these ongoing protests.
All right, very interesting. Just before we let you go, there were reports that there could be an internet clampdown in order to put a lid on these protests. Are you picking up any information about any internet shutdowns within Iran by the government there?
Well, since the protests erupted, the internet has slowed down significantly. And especially following the call by Reza Pahlavi, we saw a significant drop in the speed of the internet across the country now. The Telegram channels, which keep covering the protests and, of course, publishing news and developments about these ongoing protests, have reported on their channels that the number of views of those posts, Telegram posts, have dropped significantly, and that came following the internet slowdown or shutdown.
Indeed, Yusuf Jalali, thank you very much indeed for joining from Tehran and getting us that perspective there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.